This roundtable is going to focus on the liberal arts, big data, and computational thinking. And the question that is really the focus of this panel is how does the growing significance of the digital humanities, data science, and computational methods transform the liberal arts? And we will be hearing from AnnE Cudd, the Dean of Arts and Sciences at Boston University, Melissa Nobles, the Kenan Sahin Dean of the School of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences at MIT, Uta Poiger, the Dean of the College of Social Sciences and Humanities from Northeastern, and our respondent, Jeffery Groves, the Vice President, and the Michael Shanahan Dean of the Faculty from Harvey Mudd College. So AnnE, you'll get us started. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this whole conference and for inviting me to be here, Uta. This is great. So I want to just start with a little preface that I've only been in place in my position as Dean of Arts and Sciences at Boston University for 14 months. So as I go on about initiatives that we're working, they're fairly new, some of them even in proposal state. But nonetheless, let me hold forth. So 20 years ago, I met a man at a party in Lawrence, Kansas, who, making small talk, asked me and my husband what we do, and we responded that we were professors of philosophy and of economics, and I'm the philosopher. And when we reciprocated the question, he said that, well, he kind of worked in the intersection of those fields and baseball. And that was intriguing, so we asked him some more questions, and we realized that we were in the presence of one of the quirky geniuses of our generation, the inventor of sabermetrics, the great Bill James. So Bill, it turns out, is also a historian and a writer, and his work has revolutionized how baseball is understood and discussed. It spawned a whole industry of fantasy sports, and he helped the Red Sox, most importantly to those people here, he helped the Red Sox to finally overcome the curse of the Bambino. Bill is the epitome of the liberally educated man, I argue, who was able to take his undergraduate education in the liberal arts and sciences and his passion for baseball to change the world through data science. So the term data science is everywhere, and to some it sounds like it's the triumph of the technical over liberal education. Its omnipresence sends a message about the ascendancy of innovation, technology, engineering, business analytics, and it's tempting to conclude the demise of the liberal arts. It also raises the specter of neoliberal conspiracy to reduce human interests and concerns to mere statistics in the pursuit of more consumers and lower labor costs. The liberal arts, meanwhile, is often taken to stand for opposing forces of slow thinking, contemplation, interpretation, editing, and critique. But I propose we think about computational thinking and data science as integral to the liberal arts of the 21st century. Data science has deep implications for teaching and research in the arts and sciences, and thus, in turn, for how we as administrators must pivot to support our faculty and students. Now, as the ACNU defines it, liberal education is education that empowers individuals and prepares them to deal with complexity, diversity, and change. It provides students with a broad knowledge of the wider world as well as in-depth study in a specific area of interest. A liberal education helps students develop a sense of social responsibility as well as strong and transferable intellectual and practical skills. I think data science has an important place in such an education because it empowers individuals with crucial tools for analyzing and problem solving. Moreover, the digital revolution is bringing about an epistemological revolution in knowledge production across the arts and sciences, and it's engendering a moral revolution in how we think about privacy and networked communication and information. Immense computing power and the ubiquity of digital data has made computational thinking an essential skill. The radical nature of this revolution poses significant challenges to the self-images of our disciplines and the training of our faculty, but it also offers opportunities to bridge intellectual cultures to produce innovative and creative teaching and research. This ever-evolving revolution presents us with a massive opportunity, I think, to infuse the disciplines of the liberal arts with the science and insights of data analytics. The disciplines of the arts and sciences are ideally positioned to catalyze this revolution in how we collect, apply, understand, and interpret information to improve human well-being and advance new discoveries. So liberal arts and sciences can not only benefit from embracing the revolution, they're also critically needed perspectives to guide it. I want to talk about 3 initiatives now underway at BU to spread and accelerate this digital revolution throughout the arts and sciences. The first one is institutional and structural, aiming to catalyze growth and innovation within a group of faculty who are already fully digitized in their research and teaching. And I should say that at BU, computer science is within the College of Arts and Sciences. So it's one of the things that actually really attracted me to the position at BU. So at BU, I created a new division of mathematical and computational sciences within our College of Arts and Sciences, so separate from the natural sciences, with a charge to collaborate across faculty hiring, research, and teaching. The second initiative is oriented toward faculty who are deeply interested in embracing the digital revolution, but are not themselves trained as data scientists. We're hosting 2 seminars aimed at faculty in the humanities and humanistic social sciences, one for our BU faculty and one that will include participation from beyond BU to support faculty in developing their computational thinking and skills in the digital realm. The third initiative is oriented toward teaching at the undergraduate general education level and is still basically in proposal stage, to develop interdisciplinary team-taught courses to bring together data or computational scientists with a range of humanities professors to teach students how to cross and combine these 2 cultures. So let me dive in a little bit more on each of those. So first of all, the division, the new division, as an institutional base for the digital revolution. At Boston University, we have created a new division of the College of Arts and Sciences to encompass the mathematical and computational sciences, which include mathematics, statistics, computer science, and maybe a little bit surprisingly, economics. In these disciplines, the development of logic, game theory, probability, stochastic models, algorithms, and number of theoretical foundations of computation are central topics. We've put an associate dean who is a faculty member in computer science in charge of this group of departments and tasked him with growing the faculty in data science and related fields, developing new interdisciplinary data science degree programs, working on development projects, and creating experiential learning opportunities. Having this dedicated administrator who can focus on this area has enabled us to create a new internship program in Silicon Valley and develop our alumni network to help place students in this program. He's helped organize a college alumni advisory committee meeting, which resulted in significant feedback about the need for diversity and ethical theory to be included in computational science majors. This, in turn, is informing our ongoing curricular improvements. He's also organized social and research sharing opportunities across these departments and has co-authored an interdisciplinary teaching proposal that I'm going to mention in just a moment. Finally, through faculty hiring, we've come to see that many applicants for our positions in these, especially in these 4 fields, share common areas of interest, which in turn has allowed us to connect them with each other from the beginning of their careers. Although we've been only doing this for 14 months, this new division, it has generated a great deal of interest and excitement among faculty and students in teaching and research, and among our alumni, as well as concrete outcomes in the new internship program. So I just got the 2-minute warning, and now I probably have 1 minute. Second thing was the developing faculty data science skills beyond computational fields. So basically, we're doing that in 2 ways. One is we have a digital humanities seminar for faculty, so that faculty who we have a university-wide institute for computing, but the on-ramp to that is a little bit steep for our faculty in humanities. So we have this more gentle on-ramp through a faculty seminar, which is led by an experienced digital humanist and also involves the participation of some software developers who help the faculty develop viable projects, which we then hope to fund in the next semester. So there will be many models of this kind of work. But also, both the humanities and social sciences provide critical lenses for understanding and evaluating how data science is changing our lives and communities as well. The ubiquity of electronic devices that record and transmit data about our behavior and our physical location and status poses serious dangers to our sense of privacy and our ability to be forgotten and to be left alone. Our sense of humanity, our moral place and spiritual uniqueness in the universe is being rocked by the invention of ever more useful robots, artificial intelligence, and the ability to see further back in time and out in space. So what we're doing in this area of the sort of ethical and social interpretation of the digital revolution is we have a group of faculty who are also starting a faculty seminar. This one will be much broader in the sense that we will be inviting people from area institutions to participate, but also people from around the world as part of this, and it's being funded by the Mellon Foundation. An announcement of that seminar is coming soon, so if you are in the area, please look for that. And then third and finally, bringing the digital revolution to the classrooms of arts and sciences. BU is currently reforming its general education program to make it university-wide and focused on 6 overarching learning outcomes, one of which is quantitative reasoning, which is described so as to include computational thinking or data science. And my associate deans for humanities and for the mathematical and computational sciences have teamed up to propose a series of courses, which includes first a team-taught course that would be part of this new general education program, and then a series of courses that come after that. The team-taught course would pair humanities issues with data science skills, and the following courses would each be taught by a humanist and a data scientist so that students could kind of continue in this line of looking at humanities and data science together. And this is, as I say, it's still in proposal stage with the NIH through its Humanities Connections program. So my vision is thus to infuse the arts and sciences with the capabilities enabled by computational tools and ideas in order to create knowledge on the leading edge of discovery. We will seek to ensure that our faculty and students have access to the tools that they need to participate in and constantly reinvent this revolution. So I'm eager to hear from you what your ideas are about what your faculty and students are doing to support and leverage data science in the liberal arts and sciences. Thanks.
Good afternoon. I come here from a different place, from MIT, where in certain ways I'm fighting this battle on another front. I'm the Dean of the School of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences. Just a bit of some background. There are 5 schools: the School of Engineering, School of Science, my school, the Sloan School of Business, and the School of Architecture and Planning. All students, undergraduates, have to take 8 classes in my school in order to graduate. So they're exposed to the arts, social sciences, humanities. But it is, the big dogs in the room are, unsurprisingly, engineering and science. So they are completely convinced of the importance of data science and computational methods. That's not the question for me. I'm finding much more interest in how the humanities can connect to that in much the same ways as AnnE described. So when reading the question about the growing significance of digital humanities, I thought about it, and I said, this idea of the digital humanities is the question that I should also add here, I'm a new dean, I'm in my 14th month as well, is a question that I and the faculty of the school are dealing with right now. And in fact, I've set up a committee, a faculty-led committee to basically come to a vision of what does digital humanities mean at MIT, since presumably MIT would have something to say about the digital humanities. And the reason I suppose that we have had some, we haven't been as quick necessarily to crystallize this among the faculty has a lot to do with our place at MIT. We we are at a school of technology. So in a certain way, we have jealously guarded our identity as being social sciences, arts, and humanities. The bulwark, or the critical thinkers, the questioners, the truth tellers of the limits of technology and science. And so now we are in the position of having to rethink that. So it's unclear to me as a new dean that our posture that we've had, that has served us well. We're a relatively new school. We were created after World War II, in the wake of World War II, and with the founders, the leaders at the Institute at the time, realizing that science and technology, if not tempered by the humanities and social sciences and philosophies and such, we cannot have engineers who do not understand the humanities. And the school was in turn created after World War II. So that is we've always seen ourselves in part tied to that historical legacy. And while it has served us well for most of the 20th century, now into the 21st century, I'm not sure that that posture is serving us as well, and that we need to think a bit more, being at MIT, about how we can become more robustly involved with data science and computational skills, computational tools. But I don't also want to overstate that, in part because many of our faculty are in fact involved with it in their own research and teaching, but it's not been done in a coherent way, and that's part of my concern as a new dean, is figuring out how it is that our school can become more united in our efforts and present what digital humanities should mean coming out of MIT. So that's a project that's currently underway. We have a postdoc who worked for 2 years at 2 other schools developing the digital humanities programs. He's going to provide, he's working with our faculty committee, come up with a set of recommendations, and I'll take that to the provost and to the president. But as I see it as dean, I still have a much more fundamental argument to make within the Institute, and it's one that increasingly gets more and more attention, and is certainly an argument I know will have a receptive audience here. But I do have to say it, and I have to rehearse it a lot because I have to say it often. There's a lot of confidence in what science and technology can produce and what data science can produce, and I am in no way arguing against that. But my task, I think, is to continue to remind the scientists and technologists that the technology that is being created today cannot be separated, obviously, from humanity, right? And so that it is changing, in a way, what it means to be human today. And that it hasn't always, I think, the humanities part of MIT hasn't always, and the science and technology hasn't always been well appreciated, and that continues to be my basic task, so that the humanities and social sciences take as one of their essential concerns the knowledge that humans create about themselves, and the dissemination of such knowledge, and technology, which is created by humans, is in effect a form of human expression. So the more technology that we create for our use, the more machines become a part of our lives, and the more humans are needed. That is true for data science and for computational skills. So one of my colleagues wrote a really interesting book that I often have to quote. It's called Our Robots Ourselves. And he makes the point quite clearly, which is that by examining, he looks at aviation and autopilots and autonomous vehicles and the such, that we have to get away from this linear progression of thinking about humans to autonomous machines. And in certain ways, my argument always within MIT, and I suppose many of you may have to make the same argument, is that our discussions about STEM and big data and such versus liberal arts and humanities mirrors this construction, and I want to argue against, I suppose, a binary construction. So it's clear that the data sciences, computational methods and tools are changing the way we experience our humanity, and I always have to continue to argue that while it is true, we can't throw away our emphasis on humanities and social science, but rather we need them, arguing that we don't need them anymore. And while that, I don't want to exaggerate that. I don't want to say at MIT people are arguing, oh, we don't need humanities, you don't need social sciences. folks understand that, and they understand certainly that the use of data science and computational tools, the creation of big data means nothing if those data are not interpreted and put for social uses. And all of so here I don't want to repeat what Ann said, all of the concerns about the privacy concerns, our sense of identity and such, are all enhanced and require the humanities more and not less. And that's an argument that for me I have to make, and I have to make quite insistently. And I think now it's getting to be known. Our president was on, that is, President Reif was on CBS News yesterday morning, and he described, at MIT we can see the future. But whether we get to the future requires, whether these products come to market. But we can see the future, and the future that I see is one which has to continue to keep the human at the center of that. As I said, this may be an argument that you all can make all the time, but don't have to make. But this is an argument that I absolutely have to make. And I get, I think, increasingly more, I'm getting more support for it as technology and science moves forward in such rapid ways. So for me, I'm coming at this from a different space, a place where the argument has to be made, and our faculty within my school have to deal with this very identity crisis that Ann described, which is faculty who have to think about how their research is changing in light of all of these digital tools, that they are not made to seem irrelevant, that these tools can enhance their research. And certain of our faculty, particularly in music and in literature, very much see this, but that we don't see it as a threat to what it is that we're doing, and also that we maintain our identity as humanists and social sciences, and that even that the economists and the data scientists and the computational folks still don't have all the answers. There's a confidence in it, and I understand the confidence, but it has to be measured by what the liberal arts and humanities brings to it. And from where I sit, my job is to continue to protect that. Thank you.
You heard me yesterday talk about our experiential liberal arts model at Northeastern, and I gave a few key characteristics of that experiential liberal arts model, namely applying critical and creative capacities, knowledge and skills across context as something that we see as very important. What has also become increasingly important for us is a multi-generational and multidisciplinary research team. And then finally, I want to talk related to these questions about another very important characteristic of the liberal arts that I mentioned yesterday, or the experiential liberal arts, and that is integrating familiar liberal arts capacities and technology-based capacities. And again, I think what we are talking about here is a theme that many of you have mentioned already. We want to go beyond false dichotomies, and at the same time, I do think we all recognize that there are intellectual and disciplinary traditions that we need to be cognizant of that don't always make communication easy, and that those of us who come out of the humanities and social sciences, just as Melissa said, also as we are integrating new technologies, as we are integrating what Jim Bean this morning called numeracy, although that has of course a long tradition, especially in the social sciences, but also at certain moments in the humanities, that it in fact at the same time remains important to hold on to core values that we associate with the interpretation of literature, for example, or with the kind of critical analysis that comes with historical thinking. So again, I think our goal here is not to draw false dichotomies. At Northeastern, one of the ways in which we try to make sure that students have a broad education, and we are here in a university that has a deeper reputation in business and in engineering than in other fields, and at the same time has a deep commitment to the liberal arts, as you could hear yesterday and today as well. So one of the key paths for this is our core curriculum that is called New Path, and it's in fact designed as a curriculum that does not do what one of you correctly said can be a problem, that we put everything that is in those diverse sets of experiences only at the beginning of a student's career. It's consciously a curriculum that has now asked students to engage in learning experiences in the course of their time at Northeastern, but it does not predict at what exact moments of their time they will do that, and that's a real innovation for us. So it also in that sense takes students' competencies with which they are coming already seriously, and does not predict that they will fulfill any of those those learning requirements in introductory level classes. At the same time, as so many of you have stressed, that of course being cognizant of the social dimensions of technology, being also very cognizant of ethical dimensions of new technologies, being cognizant of issues of privacy, for example, is so important for all our students. We, like the kinds of initiatives that you just heard from Anne and Melissa about, are also very much trying to transform the way in which teaching, research, learning, but honestly also engagement with the outside world happens in the humanities and social sciences. And there, the integration of traditional liberal arts capacities with new technologies is in fact something that is very, very important to us. I want to, in this context in particular, introduce you to collaborations between my college, the College of Social Sciences and Humanities, and the College of Computer and Information Science. And my colleague, Carla Broadley, is here this afternoon as well, so she too can answer questions about what we see as the possibilities, and also what some of the obstacles are, and where we don't fully succeed yet in our efforts. I want to first start out by very briefly introducing you to a couple of examples of joint research projects that come out of a joint research institute that really has a lot of projection into the teaching space as well, that we created between the College of Computer and Information Science and the College of Social Sciences and Humanities, and that is called the New Lab for Text, Maps, and Networks. If you're interested in these projects or many other projects that this lab has, you can easily Google it and find the various ways in which it engages here on campus and beyond. And what's so striking, I will just say, about this work is that it has, in fact, very strong public humanities components, that it attracts faculty members who are interested, like our students are interested, in learning how to speak with multiple audiences, and that in turn, and that is very much an advantage for us at Northeastern, it has in fact attracted NEH and Mellon Foundation funding, but it also has attracted attention from the broader press. So I think that is really something that we all value, even as we are committed to our institutions of higher learning, that we do in fact enable our students as well as our colleagues to go outside of the ivory tower as well. So very quickly, a digital humanities project and a computational social science project that is coming out of the New Lab. And I should say, even as that lab exists between computer science and social sciences and humanities, it has importantly drawn in faculty from arts and design, from communications, from business. So it's truly an interdisciplinary effort that crosses college boundaries. What you see there on the screen on the right is a visualization from a project that's called the Viral Text Project, which is a project that asks how texts were transmitted to different locations. In this case, the dots in red are publications of Charles Mackay's poem, The Inquiry, in the pre-Civil War period, and the lines show you the lines in which publications reprinted. It is a visualization basically of a project that, before we ever knew of the term viral, or of the term viral in the context of our social lives, asks how how specific cultural products at a time when, in fact, copyright was not much of a concept, were transmitted. And if one were to dig deeper, you would actually find that these lines also closely map onto railroad lines, because railroads were one of the means of communication at the time. Let me tell you about a second project. This is a project that just was published in the American Journal of Political Science, so a top journal that is taking up computational social science work done by one of our colleagues. He has used state-level polling data along with Twitter data in order to answer questions about political opinion and voter intention at the state level. And as you know, in the United States, because of the Electoral College, we hear always in seasons like this much about swing states. And yet at the same time, even as we, I think, perceive ourselves as being in a very thoroughly polled world, arguably, the polling doesn't go far enough, and certain states get excluded from it altogether. So what our colleague Nick Beecham here has done is put polling data in relation to Twitter data. He developed machine learning, a machine learning-based model that basically took words from polls and then looked at their appearance in Twitter. And this combination has allowed him, in fact, to do better predictions than one could do with extrapolations just from the polling data. So what he is showing there is how polling can in fact be usefully supplemented with social media. Let me then go, and I notice that I too don't have that much space, go much more into how this kind of research work is translating into our educational spaces. Very consciously, the College of Computer and Information Science and the College of Social Sciences and Humanities are working together for two aims. One is to fulfill something that is very much recognized in the data science and computer science space, namely that technical skills become only useful. You heard Santa Ono quote Bill Gates on this earlier, become really only useful when there is also knowledge about application areas. They do not exist in thin air. And in that context, exposure to the humanities and social sciences is quite important for computer scientists. And at the same time, as we all have insisted, the humanities and social sciences need to expose their students to the ways in which to engage with big data and the tools that the digital world makes possible for us as well. In this context, we are this semester running a new course that is called Bostonography, Exploring the City Through Texts, Maps, and Networks, which is consciously focused on Boston, works with data sets of the faculty members involved, and there are 4 faculty members from social sciences and humanities. The 2 in charge of the project that I just introduced are involved in this, and the students are working with their real data sets in order to understand the history and the contemporary situation of Boston better. They are taking this class in conjunction with our fundamentals to computer and information science, and the idea here was very much that this would be a way for us to draw students from the social sciences and humanities into thinking more about computer science and into then taking a computer science minor, so in fact enhancing their skills and exposing themselves much more deeply to computer science. The students are doing then also truly multidisciplinary projects. They have programming and writing as part of their final projects. This was all designed to have computer science as well as social science and humanities students in the classroom together. Well, what has happened so far? The computer scientists have taken the class in droves, and our social sciences and humanities majors have still found, taking it together with the fundamentals of computer science, a barrier that they have not yet traversed. We have some ideas that we will be glad to talk to you about why that has happened, and we are working hard, and there again advising structures I think have been mentioned by many of you, as well as faculty minds and the way in which our faculty make clear to our students what matters in this world. And so we think that we will in fact get this to a different level. Carla is also working very hard on making sure that the fundamentals of computer science are as well equipped as they can be to draw in students who already have computer science background as well as those who don't at all. So what I basically want to stress for you is that yes, these efforts are really important, and sometimes our best intentions don't come to fruition right away. What's at the same time really exciting is that this kind of work really, as I've stressed with the research projects that I've mentioned already, and also with this class, that this kind of work really gets our students so much thinking about how to address different audiences. For us in building this, the collaborations with our library have actually been key. Anne talked about the ways in which faculty get educated. There we have a digital scholarship group led by someone who's jointly appointed between the library and our college. She is making, her name is Julia Flanders, also director of the Women's Writers Project. She's making an immense difference in fact, linking our faculty to the library. Has, together with her colleagues, many of them here, Will Wakeling, Jordana McLeani, Patrick Yord, also created physical spaces that enable these kinds of collaborations. And some of you have said that you would be interested in perhaps seeing some of those spaces. I think our library folks would be very happy to take you at the end of our day-to-day quickly over to the library to see what we call our digital media commons. So multiple audiences as a very important outcome of this. What I also will say, we talked about different generations of faculty. What is so exciting about the faculty involved in these projects is that they do not see their research, their teaching, and their engagement as contradictions. We have in the back Ellen Cushman, who's working in this framework on preserving Cherokee languages. We have our colleague Nicole Aljo, who's working on the Black Boston Almanac with students and church groups in order to basically show how Boston was a center of African American intellectual life before the Harlem Renaissance, along with Philadelphia. So what is also exciting about this is that it in fact allows us important work around questions of diversity and inclusion, both on campus, but also in cooperation with organizations outside of the university. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all our speakers. We'll turn to Jeffery to respond.
Okay. First of all, I would like to say thank you to the speakers too for telling us about these computational initiatives relating really to our two major constituencies at the university, students and faculty. And I think Anne has shown us how initiatives can address faculty members both in an organizational way, but what I found very exciting about what you had to say was in the second strand, the second initiative, was the education of faculty members who want to participate in this. And I think we have to remind ourselves occasionally that lifelong learning is not just something we want our students to do, but also something that we want our faculty to do. The point that Melissa made about arguing for the continuing centrality of the human in this particular space, as someone who comes from a smaller version of your institution, this is an argument that I find myself in quite a lot as well. So I sympathize. But I think the point you made to me that was really crucial and ties back in some ways to some of the initiatives that Anne was talking about was that we're really in some ways talking about faculty self-perceptions here, many of which are deeply ingrained in our disciplinary background, in our training. And I think as we move towards digital humanities, addressing that human part of that human dimension of the movement is really very, very important. Uta sort of turned our attention, I think, to students and the attractors to students. And I have to say that I'm really attracted to the new lab for text maps and networks. I think that is so cool. I want to take a course in Bostonography. That I think is very important for us to think about too. And so I want to throw in an added strand to that part of the panel presentation based on our experience in Claremont. As I think as many of you know, the Claremont Consortium consists of 5 undergraduate colleges. Harvey Mudd is one of those. And one of the beautiful things about Claremont is that students can easily cross-enroll at the other colleges. 10 years ago, our computer science course through the entire year got 50 cross-enrollments, 50 discrete cross-enrollments from the other colleges. Last year, we got 800. So students are voting with their feet for maybe not computer science, but computational thinking, computing. We've looked at some of those cross-enrollment figures, and what's really interesting there is that few of them are connected to students who want to major in computer science. We're yielding relatively few majors. Most of the students, in fact, who are taking those who are enrolling in our introductory courses are juniors and seniors, so there's no way that they could finish the major in time. So these are students from economics, political science, psychology, history, literature. We've got a digital humanities program in town now that is pushing more students who were maybe not traditional enrollees in computer science classes into those courses. The difficulty, I think, for us in thinking about how to really create something that is attractive to those students is that our computer science courses really are built for computer science majors. And by the time you get to the second course, you're learning a lot of stuff about computer science that maybe if you're somebody who's doing digital humanities, for instance, you don't need to know. So we have started two initiatives in Claremont, with Harvey Mudd sort of leading both initiatives. One is internal, in which we're looking at our own departments to see where we might be able, if we can find the funding, to put some new faculty positions that are computational positions, but within more traditional departments. So finding a digital humanist for our humanities, social sciences, and the arts department, putting a big data person in our math department, that kind of thing. That in some ways is I suppose, more conceptually easy. But the thing that we're in conversation with a couple of the other Claremont colleges about that's more exciting, I think, is that we're trying to build our computer science department in such a way that we can begin to offer what we're calling a horizontal curriculum in computing. Rather than a vertical curriculum in computer science that leads to a degree in computer science, we want to start students out at the same place. They all take the same introductory course, but then students who don't want to major can branch off into other courses that we will develop in concert with the other Claremont colleges that would be more specifically tied to their particular needs, their particular interests. And these wouldn't lead, very particularly, wouldn't lead to a major. Students might do 2, 3, 4 of them. Maybe they could do something like a sequence. But we would really be trying to address for those students who discover, say, in their junior year that digital humanities is of real interest to them and they need some of what we can do in computer science. It would be a way of really addressing those needs. And again, I think attracting students towards the humanities, but through a computing lens. So again, I thought all three of you brought out some great points, and thank you very much.